Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. In this video, we'll look at how to pronounce leaders and leaders. You might notice that as I'm saying these two words, even though the spelling and meaning is different, the sounds are basically the same. That's because in American English, oftentimes when we have letter D or letters DD, or letter T or letters TT in the middle of words, we pronounce these sounds as a flap. So even though in the dictionary you're going to see leaders with the D symbol and leaders with the T symbol, they might not mark this flap, but in pronunciation in American English, we use what I like to call the flap T. A flap is actually, these two are the same. A flap is actually its own sound. And in some languages, the flap is the R sound. So you see the symbol for a flap looks a little bit like an R. It's not the same as this kind of R. It's got a little bit more of a hooking look to it. But most dictionaries are not going to show you that that's how we pronounce it. Technically, you can think of liters and leaders as being voiceless and voiced. But as I said, our pattern in English is to pronounce these medial T's and D's when they don't have a stressed syllable after them as this flap sound. So what is the flap sound? It's basically the same as a T and D in terms of lifting the tongue behind the teeth, but instead of liters, when I say the T sound, I have to seal off the air completely and then burst it out in a loud explosion of T. You can hear there's air there, my voice is off. Same thing in D. If I say, for example, day at the start of a word, I use a true D, block the air entirely, and then burst it out D with my voice on. Whereas a flap, leaders, der, is a light touch up with the voice on, but not sealing off the air completely. So I just lift my tongue once and drop it, as opposed to sealing off and building up a lot of pressure there. It's like a rolled R with one roll. So I flap the tongue up, basically. Sometimes that's also called a tap. In some languages that use the flap for the R, for example, in Spanish, you may have a rolled R with multiple rolls, or you may have just one flap. For example, pero, that R letter is pronounced as the flap sound. So it's a sound. If it helps you to think of it as an R because you use flap for R in your language, that may help you with these. I tend to write it as a D because people naturally flap the D in the middle of words when they're saying something like leaders. Usually it's easier for them to make that flap. They're not saying leaders with a strong D. They're just flapping up. And then just applying that same kind of flapping to the T of leaders. It's the same sound. Your voice is on. You're tapping the tongue up once and dropping it back down. Other things to know about these words, the letters EA and the letter I, again, have the same E sound. I've rewritten it here for you with the letters EE. We typically, in American English, spell E with EE, EA, or E, like in me, or lead, or C. So it's kind of an exception to spell it with letter I, although sometimes we do. This is just because of this particular word leaders and its origins. So thinking of that same thing. And then the ER sound, the is an unstressed so it's going to be fast. So I don't want leaders with a strong, long but I still do need that tight back American R with my tongue tight and back. And then if I'm just saying leader or leader with no plural, it's by itself. Because the is voiced, when I make it plural and add the S, it's a Z sound. Again, I don't need a strong Z, not leaders with a long buzzing Z, just leaders. It sounds a little bit like a very light short S if I'm saying the word by itself. Watch out that you don't make a strong S, not leaders with a strong burst of air, but leaders. And then when I'm linking it, for example, if I say the leaders are, then my Z is a little bit more noticeable because I'm linking, keeping my voice on. The leaders are, then I definitely need a Z there, not the leaders are, but the leaders are. The leaders are coming, the leaders are meeting, etc. 10 liters of gasoline, 10 liters of water. Okay, so a lot of details about sounds in these two words. If you want more help for the flap sound, for the vowels of English, for R sounds, for how to make plurals, all of that information is covered in other videos here on the channel. You also might want to check out our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com, where I go through each of the sounds of English, talk about the places we use it, which letters we use to spell it, accent error patterns you might have on it, and give you some ideas and techniques for practicing and improving on those sounds. That course, Sounds of American English on speechmodification.com, is right now available for under $2, so it's a great bargain to give you a really strong resource to have the fundamentals of pronunciation in English and to be able to pronounce anything that you want. Of course, I'll continue to cover words by your request here in our Word of the Day series, word by word, but it is good to have a strong foundation. When you're encountering new words, you can begin to read the symbols in the dictionary, understand what to watch out for in the patterns in your speech as well. Check it out on speechmodification.com. I'll be back again tomorrow with another Word of the Day class, as well as on Friday, we'll have our live question and answer class where you can attend, type your questions in the chat, and I'll answer them for you live. Thanks so much, those of you who have subscribed to the channel, and especially those of you who have joined as channel members. If you haven't yet subscribed, if you want to do that, YouTube will show you my content in your homepage. You'll get to see a little bit more about what we've been doing with Word of the Day and other live classes. You can also click on the bell to get notified when I'm live or when I upload a new video, or you don't have to do that, but subscribing is a way to keep in touch with what's going on in the channel, and I do really appreciate that support. Joining the channel, you can click the join button and see the perks that I offer for channel members. We have an extra class once a week just for channel members, and they can make their requests at any time and get an answer within a week. So that's another way to show your support and to get a little bit of extra help from our channel. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Hope to see you again soon.